All right, so I'm here at this mini, wow, there's loud stuff in the jungle somewhere up there making a lot of noise. But I'm at this mini waterfall, see, not very big here, to show you the difference between short exposure or fast shutter speed and long exposure or long slow shutter speed. I guess I'll keep that. Now, unlike oh my God, where's the sun coming from? It's getting me. Now, for a short exposure or fast shutter speed, you really only need your camera and then basically just crank the shutter speed, fix your other settings, aperture, ISO to make it look good exposure-wise, and bam, hammer away. However, for a long exposure, you're gonna need two other things. Well, one other thing for sure, which is a tripod, because you gotta keep the camera still so that all the things that are not moving are gonna be sharp, and then the things that you want to be moving in terms of the long exposure are gonna be blurred. The second thing is if you are doing a long exposure during the day, most of the time you're gonna need an ND filter. I have a variable ND filter that I can twist and turn and make darker and brighter. In my situation, as you can see, it's pretty dark. I'm in a shaded kind of jungle area here. So I'm still gonna use the ND filter, but I probably don't need to in this situation specifically. Actually, I lied. There's a third extra thing that you're gonna want. I just don't have it right now. You really wanna use a wired or wireless remote shutter so that when you actually hit the shutter to take the picture, you don't bump the camera or make it move too much. All right, so whoa, 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 whoa. I'm falling in the water here, my shoes are destroyed. All right, so here's my basic setup. Tripod, camera on top, tilted this way so it's in portrait orientation, not landscape, because obviously the waterfall is tall, not wide. Now that we're all set up, let's start taking some pictures. But I'm gonna start by taking a fast shutter speed or short exposure picture first, just so we have something to compare to in the end. So my settings on the camera, oh, and my ND filter is open as wide as it can go, letting in the most amount of light possible. I have a shutter speed of 1/160, aperture 2.0, and ISO 1600. Okay, so here we go. Take a picture of the waterfall, boom. And if we look at that one, as you can see, with a fast shutter speed, we can see all the detail on the water. It looks like it's falling. We can see it just like we would with our own eyes. Get out of the way, Lee. It's a pretty dangerous maneuver because I have my camera on like the side of a cliff right here. Oh shoot. Oh, now you can't even see me. Get out of the, ah! Okay, so now for the long exposure pictures. But instead of just changing all my settings to the final one, I'm gonna change one setting at a time so we can see kind of what each of those changes makes incrementally. Okay, so first, I'm gonna get my shutter speed where I want it. So I'm just gonna crank this and I'm gonna put it to about 4 seconds. So instead of 1/160th of so instead of 1/160th of a second, I'm at 4 seconds, which means the camera sensor is going to be exposed to the light for 4 seconds instead of 1/160th of a second. Okay, so let's see what that picture looks like. 3, 2, 1, 0, and ooey! As you can see, it's completely blown out, so unusable. But if we could see it, the water is going to be much more smooth. So I think I'm going to like that. Now I just have to correct my exposure. So the next thing I'm gonna do is drop my ISO to darken the image. I'm gonna crank my ISO down as low as it can go. On this camera right here, right now, I can only go down to 200. So I'm gonna do that first. Let's take a picture again. Boom. My battery just died. So they're seeing a little bit of detail now, but not usable just yet. Still way too bright. So if you're in super bright sunlight and maybe you don't have an ND filter, obviously the first thing you're gonna wanna do is crank up your aperture. This is gonna change the depth of field here, but since we're kind of flat against this waterfall, it's not really gonna make too much of a difference, okay? So I'm gonna crank that up. I'm gonna go to like maybe F8, see what that looks like, and boom. Okay, so we're almost there. The exposure is almost good, but instead of me kind of continuing to raise up the aperture, I'm going to adjust the ND filter. So at the front here, I'm gonna turn this to kind of darken it a little bit, maybe right there. That looks pretty good. And I'm gonna try again. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, bang. Now, if we look at that one, that's pretty good. It's exposed really good. We can see the water smoothly flowing. Looks pretty nice. And I might want the water to be a little bit more smooth. So I'm gonna do two more things. I'm gonna darken the ND filter again. So I'm gonna darken that down, but instead of using aperture to, lower the aperture to like f2 again and brighten it up, I'm gonna leave it at f8 because I like that, but I'm now going to slow the shutter speed down even slower. So I'm gonna go from 4 seconds down to 8 seconds. Let's see how that one turns out. Bang. Okay, so there we go. Now the image is exposed properly. We can see the smoothness in the water falling, and we have taken a successful long exposure photograph. What do you need? Oh, my son's interrupting me. I'm trying to do this thing and he's cutting me off here. What? What do you want? Well, why do you think I'm trying to set up at a waterfall? No, I'm filming a video of taking the pictures. Why are you walking in your bare feet? Wow. Go home. Kids these days. If you got something out of this video, make sure to drop a like. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I'll catch you next time. Bye.